What on earth is the President of the United States doing weighing in on this? That's really what I think the bigger issue is. But, Ann, is it not a fact that by charmingly inviting these two parties to the White House and having them both accept very graciously for a brewski, that the President made lemonade out of a lemon?
I don't think so. Wishful thinking on your part, Geraldo. No, too little too late. He called, said what the cops did was acting stupidly, and he wanted that question. He's been accused, for one thing, when he ran against Bobby Rush and lost to Bobby Rush. Bobby Rush kept saying he's not a black man, he's a half-white, well-educated white man. He's been being attacked in the Sun-Times for not being black enough. He had that question planted so that he could...
He had the question planted about the Gates situation?
Yes, you did.
No.
Oh, yes, he did.
You have no proof of that.
As opposed to the many things you break on your show, I do have proof.
And a dig at me, too. See, it is racial.
But no, he wanted to ask that question. And by the way, it isn't working the way he wanted to. It was the last question in the press conference. It was supposed to be something that people wouldn't really notice. They'll get it out there, but they'll notice at the Sun-Times back in Chicago. Even the Sun-Times reporters, Mary Mitchell, who's been going after him for not being black enough.
Specifically denies that question was
of course she did.
But you have proof that reporter's lying too?
She's also like that with David Axelrod, whom she worked with at the Sun-Times. But I wanted to say about Mary Mitchell, and I think Mary Mitchell is right about this. This is making light of racial profiling. This is, and I don't disagree with Mary Mitchell on anything. She is like a black activist, but she's saying, look, I mean, this is like a woman who claims constructive rape because her boss called her honey. Some poor black men really are racially profiled. The fancy Harvard professor was not being racially profiled.
Well, perhaps he wasn't at least in the initial stages, but be that as it may, Professor Lamont Hill, to use the word stupidly, the adverb stupidly, stupid, how do you use that about the Cambridge, Massachusetts police when you don't even use it about Mahmoud Ahmadinejad?
But that's exactly why I don't think it was planted, actually, because I don't think he would use such bold language if he had any moment to reflect on it. He became the president by being raceless, by trying to transcend race and not make anybody feel alienated. He's good at not being black, so I don't think he would try to get black points in the middle of a health care presser. I think he was doing something very different. He was trying to respond on behalf of his friend. I think his use of the word stupid was great, because I think he was absolutely right. There was no reason for Skip Gates to be arrested for disorderly conduct. There was just no law being broken there. However, I think the mistake comes when he backtracks 2 days later and then invites everybody for a beer.
So you don't like that idea?
No. Right, if you're going to stand up, then stand up. If not, then back away.
Well, let's get the latest on Gates Gate and the promised brewski from Courtney Keeley, who is down the street from Professor Gates' home in Cambridge, Mass., which ironically is probably the most liberal city in the New World. Courtney, what's going on?
He's definitely turning this into a race issue. He's definitely toning it down. He's saying, let it be a lesson, just like President Obama said.
I get you, but I have not heard ever of a case where you get arrested for disorderly conduct inside your own home, and the professor alleges that Sergeant Crowley lured him outside specifically to get around that technicality, you might call it, in the law. And he was entrapped, and that's why the Cambridge cops dropped it. But, Courtney, thanks. I want to ask the governor a question. What if that tape says, there's two black guys breaking into this house next door? Is that good or bad for Sergeant Crowley or Professor Gates?
I don't think it matters what color they were. The issue was there were two people that appeared to be breaking into a home.
Seriously, I trust you so much. You don't think that people have a race reaction when they see a black man doing something, particularly a man, not a black woman? There is a response. There is it may be a learned response. It may be a subtle instinctive response, but there is a different reaction.
Certainly within some people that is true, not with everybody. I don't think it is with Officer Crowley. He has a long history of being the anti-racist, even teaching against racial profiling. Well, but the other issue here is that you've got the police report. I've read the police report by Sergeant Crowley. I read the one by the assisting officer, and both of them are adamant that it was not luring him outside. It was that when he came outside, he would not leave it alone. I'm talking about Professor Gates. Yeah. He just followed the officer out and continued.
But it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. First of all, there's precedent in Massachusetts. There's precedent in Massachusetts to say that even berating a police officer while being arrested does not constitute disorderly conduct. It's very specific.
A legal precedent. There is.
Exactly. So it's very specific. So they had no legal right.
It's protected by the First Amendment.
Precisely. honestly. So he shouldn't have been arrested.
Well, let's remember
let's not believe. But also, let's
the charges have been dropped. I think the bigger issue is why would the president of the United States wade into something?
Because this is a huge issue that deals with race relations. Even if we think that Ann is right, for example, and say that this is a poor example of racial profiling, that's something a president needs to intervene on because the entire nation is talking about it.
Intervening is one thing, but calling a police officer stupid?
He said the arrest was stupid.
And legally I disagree with both you and Geraldo on a point that this was not grounds for arrest, him carrying on. Yeah, you can be arrested for disorderly conduct in your home. But that's what domestic violence cases are.
And if domestic violence is different.
No, if the
this is a guy ranting
Geraldo,
without sorry.
If the cop had seen this guy screaming and carrying on and then left and then he goes across and starts fighting with his neighbor or beats up his girlfriend, then the cop would be liable for it. By all accounts, as the governor says,
it was dropped because it was a lame charge.
No, that's not all accounts,
That's not why it was
dropped. That's not all accounts. That's the police report.
It's important. Who is the powerful person here? The Harvard professor's lawyer called the mayor of Cambridge. That's why it was dropped, because the alleged victim here is the powerful Harvard professor, backed up by the powerful black mayor, the powerful black governor, the powerful black
it was a bad case. And we can't believe the police report either. That's just one side of the story.
All right, we leave this there. Is Sarah Palin through? Is Barack Obama a citizen? Whether or not Barack Obama is really a citizen of the United States and Coulter, is this an issue?
No, it isn't. And by the way, Lou Dobbs is not a crank. He was absolutely right on illegal immigration, and you were wrong, Geraldo. However, he is wrong on this issue.
Okay, good.
And I do want to point out that every conservative publication, from Human Events, The Sweetness and Life blog, American Spectator, dealt with this because it was raised as an issue
a year ago,
and said there's nothing to it. So for CNN or MSNBC or you, Geraldo, the liberal on Fox, to be bringing this out as if it's an issue, it's just a few cranks out there. It's like when networks bring on the 3 remaining clanners in America on TV.
Well, I think those 3 remaining clanners email me often, and
I got some from them already right now.
Right. But one of the things they email me about is this Obama thing.
Geraldo, you ignorant slut.
But every day I get these Obama emails from people who say that he's not a real citizen, and part of me loves it because it really makes the conservatives continue to look like a party of people who are disorganized and focusing on minor issues instead of the real problems that Americans face. So keep them coming. It makes me feel very good.
The reason that we knew this wasn't true was because I promise you that Hillary Clinton and her very careful research would have found this out and used it in the primary. And I kept telling people, I know the Clintons will. There's no way this would have escaped them, and they would have pulled the trigger on it long before the election. Can I just say one quick thing in defense of the people who are raising this, and that is the media has covered up an awful lot. I mean, when the Edwards Affair story is a real story,
isn't there a big difference since the Constitution requires the president to cover it?
No, the point is, if the mainstream media did its job, you wouldn't even have the few conspiracy theorists on the right that you have, and most of them are on the left.
Governor, can Sarah Palin succeed as a private citizen using Twitter as her device to reach a mass market in politics?
Well, she'll certainly need more than Twitter, but I mean, it's a tool. Again, I think that her resignation from the office midterm was a surprise. Not that she was going to not go ahead and go for another re-election. The question is, does she really want to be on the national stage, and does she think that resigning as governor means that the press will leave her alone? The answer to that is absolutely not. They will come after her relentlessly because they'll figure they've got something to go after. This is going to be an
unfair campaign contribution if you run for president, by the way.
I love this guy. Thank you very much for a spirited debate. We're going